Welcome back to the JCPod, partner with Stare Down Sports. Stare Down, greatness. Crazy to think that we're officially 9 days away from the NFL draft. Felt like just yesterday we were like 20 or 30 something days, just threw the countdown up and everything. But that also means we are done with Masters weekend. Really, really fun Masters weekend. We'll talk about that after we talk about some NFL news. There's not a whole lot of NFL news to talk about, just a little bit here and there. A couple big things that will be kind of important to keep an eye on as we head into the season, and past that then just some other small little moves and other stuff like that. Yeah, let's hop right in. The Falcons are signing Jawan Taylor, and he is going to be officially probably their starting right tackle. This happened, was this last week? Did we miss this last week? It was kind of a shocking retire. Caleb McGarry for the Falcons, he ended up retiring. It's kind of crazy. He went on, last year he lost the season because of a knee injury. And then he just signed a 2-year, $30 million contract before that, so it's kind of shocking to see that he decided to end it. But after the injury, I guess maybe it was just had enough, so now he's officially going to be done. He's off the team, so that means that Jawan Taylor now is going to be taking their place. McGarry made 92 official starts for the Falcons in the regular season. They drafted him as the first overall pick in 2019. Like I said, he missed all of last year with the knee injury, and I think that was basically what kind of decided. Kind of crazy. I'm sure that really, really sucks for the Falcons because I'm assuming they were thinking about it this year. It's like, all right, we have another year or two before we have to worry about right. I mean, he was a really solid player for them. Like 92 starts. That was a guy they could depend on and who was out there. Like I said, he wasn't last year, but I'm sure that was a position like, all right, we're going to have McGarry back, so let's focus on doing some other stuff. And then kind of out of nowhere, it's like, oh, shit, we got a hole at our right tackle, so we got to fill that. And I mean, let's be honest, it's not the only place that got a couple holes at. Obviously, they signed quarterbacks, but we don't know who's going to start. Outside Drake London and Kyle Pitts, that wide receiver room, kind of sketchy. James Pierce with everything going on with him. I mean, kind of a wild offseason for the Falcons. So signing Jawan Taylor, obviously that solidifies the right tackle position, but going to be interesting to see what happens with him because of the whole penalty situation he had with the Chiefs. Curious to see if that's going to carry over with him to the Falcons or if it's one of those things where new team, new scenery, everything just kind of gets figured out. This is kind of a wild one and a big one. So the Justice Department is investigating the NFL for partial anti-competitive practices. The official who was not authorized to discuss the ongoing investigation by name and spoke... The official who was not authorized to discuss an ongoing... Okay, so basically he just can't go on record who says the investigation is about affordability for customers and creating an even playing field for providers. I feel like this is the second time in or so year... This is the second time or so within, what? I think this was just like 2018, 19, 20 with the whole Sunday ticket thing and all that. I mean, this isn't. So, I mean, it's another. I don't know year. I'm trying to think of the exact year. I can't think of the year exactly. But this is another one of the situations where the NFL has not received notification that the league is being investigated according to other people with knowledge on the situation. Those spoke on the condition of anonymity, because they are not authorized to speak on possible legal matters. So, we're going to have to just see if this ends up coming through or not. This could just be like this could literally be an actual investigation or be one like okay, you guys are good. But like I said, the only reason I wanted to bring this up is because this did happen just a couple years ago with Sunday tickets, so it's kind of wild that, I mean, it's not completely wild, but interesting that of all times now it comes up again. The NFL said in a statement Thursday that over 87% of his game are available on broadcast television, including ones that are playing local team markets. And the NFL's media distribution model is most fan and broadcast friendly in the entire sports and entertainment industry. The 25 season was our most viewed since 1989, reflects the strength of the NFL distribution model. I will say, they do kind of have a point with that because they do have the game. I mean, definitely not going to defend them because I think it is a bit ridiculous. One of the guys who is, I think, leading the investigation, or what did they say his name was? Utah Senator Mike Lee, chair of the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee on Antitrust, Competition Policy, and Consumer Rights. He's one of the ones, I'm assuming, who did research and brought up this to the... I don't know who he brought it up to, but I'm assuming this is something he did research on and put it out there just to let people know, like, hey, this is going on. And this is probably partially one of the reasons they're investigating to begin with. Lee said in his letter that football fans spent almost $1,000 on cable and streaming subscription. Forbes estimates the cost of watching every NFL game via streaming last year at 765. I mean, they probably are wrong. You needed CBS, NBC, ABC, ESPN, ESPN Plus, Fox, NFL Network, Amazon Prime Video, Netflix, and YouTube TV. Now, mind you, if you have YouTube TV, you can kind of bundle a couple of those all together. But I'll admit, I watched every game last year. Expensive. It was definitely expensive, and some of the streaming product things you needed, like obviously they don't have Peacock on here, but like when you needed Peacock, it was like, oh, I gotta pay for this just for this and back off. Thankfully, I'll admit, personally for me, between my life and most people I know, like it doesn't affect me too much because I share or have it with other people, and I'm already paying for it, so it's not going out of my way. I was gonna watch anyway, but I definitely would be happy if it's cheaper because, whew. If it's close to $1,000, that is crazy. I mean, with the Red Zone package for YouTube TV, it's up to like what? I think $93 a month. Yeah. Like I said though, the big reason I just want to bring this up, this could end up being nothing. This could end up being something that gets looked at even more. But like I said, this came from the Sunday Ticket thing was just, I think this happened when I was in college. So this is probably like 6 to 8 years ago or so. Could be wrong about that. The NFL announced that 16 players will be attending that NFL draft. Feels like a little bit lower. I forgot to look it up before I came on. I wonder what the lowest amount of people to attend the draft is. This definitely by far feels like one of the lower amounts, but I won't lie. I kind of understand it now. I didn't realize it going into it, but shout out to Stanford Steve. He kind of talked a little bit about it on one of the recent Scott Van Pelt pods. He was talking about how these guys, I mean, they get drafted and everything. It's supposed to be one of the biggest moments of their life, right? So you get drafted, you basically go on stage, do all that, talk to them, maybe celebrate with your family for a quick 20, 30 seconds, and go on stage, get the cap, do the picture and everything, and then it's basically just like media, especially for now that's not for everybody, obviously, but for these first-round guys, it's just like media, and they said, I think the example he gave was like the Ezekiel Elliott year. Ezekiel Elliott went number 5 overall, and he said it was basically like one of the last 2 or 3 picks by the time Zeke's night was done. So that's what, 20-something picks that whole time is just interviewed, this show, that show, interviewing, talk about, which, mind you, it is one of the biggest moments of their life. It should be an honor and a privilege to get to do that because you're playing in the NFL. But at the same time, some people often they want to celebrate with their family. So it's kind of what we're seeing like with Mendoza, him staying at home. So I won't lie. The fact that I basically learned that, it makes sense as the whole interview process. I just didn't realize it lasted that long. So learning how long it can last, especially for some of these top guys that a lot of teams are going on interview, it's like, okay, I kind of get why some of these guys might not want to go to the draft then. And then there's the other side of the coin of like, Lamar Jackson, for example. I'm trying to think of some other names, but none of them are just popping in my head right away. But the guys who go there, you think they're going to be a first rounder, and then they just keep dropping. Aaron Rodgers, dropping in the draft, and you just kind of see them sitting there, and then as it goes on, they just keep being like, oh, he's still here. Look who's still here. Oh, look who's still in the back room. So I can kind of see what some other guys, if they don't think they're going to end up getting, if they don't think they're going to end up getting drafted in the first round, no point going and then just sitting in that room and then just kind of wasting a night and then just feeling either pissed off or worse because of what happened. So kind of don't blame them at the same time. It was just kind of, 16 feels like probably one of the lowest. That means at least at minimum for half the picks, we're going to see somebody walk on stage, which, let's be real. Some of us aren't even watching for that anyway. We're just seeing who gets drafted where. This was kind of a sad one. The Colts and Kenny Moore are mutually agreeing to seek a trade. Part of the reason they decided to part ways is Moore's fit in the team's defensive system since they hired Louis Naruma. It's good. It's all love, he said. Pretty much, yeah. It just sounds like he doesn't like the scheme. He doesn't feel like he fits in this new scheme as much, which really, really sucks because sure he fit in the old scheme, but the old scheme with Gus Bradley was kind of trash. So that just kind of, I'm not going to act like this one's like above and beyond like the best. Yeah, I just know that Louis Anarumo changes defenses around and everything, so it makes sense that if Kenny just kind of want to be one of those guys who like sits and like Gus Bradley definitely did a lot more of like, hey, you're just gonna stay kind of over here, you do your thing over here, which sounds like Kenny Moore kind of wants to do. He spent his entire career with the Colts since going undrafted in 2017, and that is exactly why it hurts so much. Is because he has spent that's why it just hurts so much, man, is because he's been with the Colts for so long. He's basically, him and Michael Pittman are two of the leaders in the room. He became, in 2023, for example, one of the cool stats, he became the first guy ever in Colts history to score 2 pick sixes in a game. I mean, it's just stuff like that where he's been with the team for so long, and he's been one of the pillars damn near of that team. Obviously, the Colts have had their struggles, and there's been locker room stuff. He hasn't been the issue. Michael Pittman, he's not been a guy that's been an issue. So it just sucks to see those two guys go. Obviously, you want the better for both of them. For the Kenny Moore situation, too, both sides kind of agree. So it makes sense, and they probably want to get a little bit younger at the position anyway. He is 30 years old. And at corner, it is one of those positions where the NFL likes to stay young at. Just sucks, man, as a Colts fan, because he's a pretty good player, and yeah, there's just more of the changing of the times, and this just feels like this is going to be the first time in a while when it starts getting to, like, the point where there's going to be, like, a whole bunch of new faces on this Colts team, especially if this year kind of doesn't go the best for them, which is definitely a possibility. Dontavian Wicks got traded to the Eagles, which makes you really, really wonder about this A.J. Brown move. He signed a 1-year, $12 million extension with Philly after he joined them. The Packers will receive a 2026 fifth-round pick and a 2027 sixth-round pick. It's just, with all these wide receivers, I mean, the Eagles, I'm not going to act like they've picked up a lot of great wide receivers, but it's like Jahan Dotson, Dontavian Wicks. I can't think of the third guy, of course, but all indications are kind of leaning towards, okay, they might actually be trading A.J. Brown here soon, because why else would you just load up on all these wide receivers? And the rumors are already out there about potentially A.J. Brown moving on. So I'm not going to lie to you. Obviously, we need to see it happen before I fully believe it. But I'm starting to believe the tea leaves a little bit. Like, okay, they might be preparing to move on from A.J. Brown, because with all these guys, I mean, these are all a bunch of wide receiver like 3s and 4s that they are picking up. So you got to think that they potentially might even look to draft a wide receiver potentially, but that would be like I think that would be the official sign of like, okay, so they definitely are moving on from A.J. Brown. But with all these moves, because like I said, them picking up Wicks now, makes me kind of think like, okay, they might be moving on from A.J. Brown. Which, to be fair to both sides, it seems like, especially with some of the off-field stuff that's going on, there's just a lot of, I don't know the best way to describe it, just a lot of just craziness going on with I guess it's the best word to even use, just craziness. A lot of craziness going on with the Eagles, so it kind of just makes sense that maybe it's just like, hey, this is one of the louder squeaky wheels. Maybe we just move on from it, get some compensation for it, and just try to fix what all they got. But I mean, to be fair, as much as A.J. Brown wants them to pass the ball, they really weren't just passing it that much, so I at least like to in what he wants. So we'll just have to see. All these moves, though, it's making me kind of give a side eye, like, something's going on there. San Francisco 49ers agreed to a 1-year deal with cornerback Jack Jones. The two sides agreed on the deal last Friday. The 28-year-old was originally a 4th-round pick in New England. He spent 2022 there. In 2022, he spent last season with Miami. He started all 17 games, 1 interception, 2 forced fumbles, and 6 passes defended. He's probably going to be a pretty good fit for the 49ers. And obviously, this is kind of a 1-year prove-it deal. Potentially, he might sign back with him if he has a great season, or he might get picked up by some other team, which makes sense. I was going to say something else, but I'm just like, just makes sense, honestly, right? Bijan Robinson, he is picking up his 5th-year option, the Falcons are picking up his 5th-year option. This move comes obviously as no surprise. He's in the 4th year of his rookie contract. They are going to have to pay him a lot of money. They could still ink a long-term deal before the 2026 season. If not, his 5th-year option is worth about $11.3 million for the 2027 season. I mean, he is going to cost a lot of money. It's going to be curious to see how he breaks the running back market payment-wise. But like I said, it's just Falcons are in a really, really interesting spot. They have a pretty decent team. Honestly, they remind me of the Colts a little bit for a while. Is where the Colts were a team where it's like, hey, they kind of have pretty good pieces everywhere else around except for quarterback, which is obviously, I mean, the Colts might have found their answer in Daniel Jones, but for the Falcons, this is one of the situations like they got Drake London, they got Kyle Pitts, they got Bijan Robinson. Their offensive line is pretty solid. At least it was a couple years ago. And then defensively, they're okay. They were a little bit better than okay at points. But now it's just kind of like, man, they just can't figure out this quarterback situation. So because of that other quarterback situation, you really, really, really need to stress the other positions, and then it just becomes a mess. And that's why they finished like 8-9, 9-8, and they've had a lot of struggling seasons since Matt Ryan retired, as they just haven't been able to get a guy. They thought Michael Penix might be the guy. Now he's getting hurt. Now it's a battle between him and Tua. I don't think Tua is going to be a full long-term answer. Who even knows if... let's be honest. Who even knows if Michael Penix is the answer for them at this point fully? I mean, he still hasn't come back from injury. We're still trying to figure out if he's going to be playing for them or not to start the season at least. The NFLPA has ruled against, or excuse me, a panel has ruled against the NFLPA and said there's not enough proof of collusion. On Friday, upheld an arbitrator's decision that there wasn't sufficient evidence in collusion by teams negotiating contract Kyler, Lamar Jackson, and Russell Wilson in 2022. While the panel found that teams were being invited to participate in collusion by the NFL and called the effort improper, it ruled that there wasn't enough evidence to prove teams took part in the collusion. That's interesting. The case specifically questioned whether Watson's $230 million deal affected talks with Murray, Jackson, and Wilson, none of the three signing fully guaranteed deals. Okay, I was about to say, I'm like, I wonder why they did that. And then it's like, I totally forgot about the whole Deshaun. Yeah. I can't believe that happened in 2022. Man, does time fly. That feels like that Deshaun Watson thing happened like 2-3 years ago. But, I mean, and at the same time, it also feels like it happened an eternity ago. But, yeah, so that basically is, yeah, they were trying to argue that the NFL kind of colluded after fully guaranteed contracts. Like, hey, this is not going to become a thing. We're making sure none of these guys get fully guaranteed contract. And apparently, like I said, there's not enough proof. It's not, I mean, we'll have to see. It's not too shocking, but this one actually isn't too shocking at all because the NFL does not want fully guaranteed contracts. That's for damn sure. Especially, and I tell you what, Deshaun Watson, he just set players back probably a long time until they get fully guaranteed contracts. Not fully, I mean, it's not fully his fault. The Browns are also just kind of jackasses for throwing all that money at him. But at the same time, they also partially didn't predict for him to get hurt twice. He had the massage scandal issue. I mean, that's... Yeah, like I said, it's going to be a while before the NFL players get fully guaranteed contracts. Two final things I want to talk about. One of them, we'll get the bad one kind of out of the way first. Ruben Bain, apparently, this came out somewhat recently, it's basically that he was involved in a traffic collision in 2024 that resulted in a death of one of the passengers. This is just coming out now, but this has been out for a while, apparently. I mean, this is one of those situations where, like, if we, the public, are just now finding out about this, you got to think that the NFL's, especially, like, with how good some of these scouts are looking into situations like this, you got to think they kind of knew what was going on. But if you're curious about it, I would recommend going and read about it more in detail. I don't want to go over it too much because, like I said, it happened in 2024. It basically, I think it already came out that, like, it basically came out that I think they dealt with it, but I don't... The charges eventually got dropped. There was obviously some type of settlement, whether it was money, whether it was just charges completely being dropped, nothing happened. Obviously, this was settled in 2024, but it's just one of those things, man. There's just never good stuff going around when you're driving early in the morning. 3 a.m. You hear a lot of these stories like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., mainly like the 3, 4 a.m. But then on some positive news, though, when it comes to the NFL draft, Peter Schrager recently just came out and he said at some point in the top half of the first round of the NFL draft that he thinks there's going to be a wide receiver run. He just named some receivers. He didn't really go in order, but he's like Tate, Tyson, Malachi Lemon, Omar Cooper from Indiana, Casey Concepcion, Denzel Boston. He basically said it came down to, like, he thinks that 3 or 4 of these guys, like, after one goes, 3 or 4 are going to go right behind him. Just because it's a very needy position. Some of these guys are really, really good. And while it is still a deep wide receiver draft, some of these dudes are like studs, and you definitely want to get your hands on them if you can. But let's be real. We all know teams are going to be fighting for Jeremiah Smith next year. That's going to be an interesting one to see if he's going to be... Because supposedly it's supposed to be a really, really amazing quarterback draft. So how high does Jeremiah Smith go next year? But we aren't even to the draft this year, so we should probably hold off on that thought. That's probably going to do it for the NFL portion. I'll end it with just some brief Masters talk and just kind of talk about... the weekend that was, there was some complaints about the playing surface areas for the guys who play in the morning versus the afternoon. Doesn't seem too shocking in general, just because like a golf course is probably going to change between the morning and the afternoon and everything. But It was really pretty fun tournament. Just some shocking notes. Bryson DeChambeau missing the cut. That was crazy just because of how it happened. He basically just needed the par or bogey the 18th hole on Friday, and he makes the cut instead. I think he triple bogeyed it, so he missed the cut completely. That was just wild. Haotong Lee, I think it's Haotong. He went from like being right in the action, potentially like 7th, like 6th, 5th range to the Masters on Sundays. There's a different type of pressure. He drops all the way to 38th, just has a complete implosion of a hole basically where it sounds like he basically had Scotty Scheffler waiting for like 15 minutes before Scotty could even hit his shot, which for these pros, the more I've kind of learned about it too from just people going to events and talking about it and all that, they move rather quickly. Like, I'll admit, personally, when I play, I like to play at a faster pace in general if I can. But some of these courses, it literally sounds like basically, obviously with how good some of these guys are too, it's literally just like speed walk, walk up to the ball, basically, if they could, hit it right away, speed walk, hit the ball right away. So now and then when you hear stories like that and you hear people be like, I didn't realize how fast some of these guys walk until you saw them in person and all that, then you kind of go like, okay, now you see why they get mad when some of these guys play really, really slow. Because, like I said, to go back to this, to bring it back a little bit to that Haotong Lee point, like I said, these guys are usually pretty good. So, like, they're nailing greens, they're getting there quick. When you hold up play for 15 minutes looking for a ball, which I wish we had more cameras on this, by the way. It sounded like Scotty Scheffler was getting pretty frustrated, which how can you blame him in a situation like that? And it sounds like Lee might have not even fully knew this is just stuff I've seen online too, that Lee might have not fully known the rules. So he didn't know, like, common courtesy, like, hey, you can just go ahead while I'm looking, stuff like that. Like, and I'll admit, I'm not 100% sure how that works either, because especially with the Masters, that has its own just whole set of rules, but there was just some wild events that happened there. Sunday was Rory dropped 3 back. Cam Young took the lead. He drops back. Justin Rose takes the lead. He falls back. You want to jump back to Thursday or Friday. Sergio Garcia basically breaks his driver. He got talking to from the people at the Masters. They were not very happy about the way he was treating it. It just goes to show you also, too, like, how prestigious this court. Like, don't get me wrong. I understand it's the Masters. I understand it's prestigious, but I guess I didn't understand fully to the extent because, like, Mike Greenberg came out on Twitter and basically called him out saying they usually don't ban people from the courts, but he should be banned for what he did for this. I'm like, it feels like a bit much. But then you think about it, it's like, it is the Masters, and there's just certain people, like, there's this, not certain people, I guess, but there's certain places that just get held to this above all standard, and Masters is one of them. It's just, yeah, so you hear stuff like that, it's kind of crazy. It takes you back a minute, like, whoa, I feel like you're going a little bit far. And it's like, okay, I kind of get it. So, like I said, though, that was just kind of wild to see him kind of get angry. You could definitely, and then leading that leads us back to Sunday with some emotions. Like, you could see Justin Rose, he basically had a hole where he should have easily at least had birdie. He doesn't get birdie, doesn't get par, ends up getting bogey. And this is very late, and this is after he basically he's up -12. He basically blew the lead. And this was basically his last chance at winning, and he missed it. And you saw him at the very next tee box, he hit right a little bit, and you saw him just swing in the air. Like, you saw him get visibly mad. This is a guy who's 45, who knows how many chances he has to win the Masters left in him, and he's finished in the top 2, 3 times. He's been in the top 5 a lot, usually on that first board on the Masters Sundays. This is a guy, you can see the frustration getting to him. When you saw Cam, you can see the devastation of some of these guys as they're just, like Scotty on 17 when that one putt missed. And I still don't know how it missed. You could just see the devastation in his eyes pretty much where it's like, that was it. That was my chance to basically get it potentially. You can see Rory. He was nervous at certain points. He was able to lock back in and others. It was just very, very awesome to watch just to see how these guys, especially because as a guy, I'm a fan of it myself, and obviously I would love to be at the level these guys are. Will I get there? Not really too sure, to be honest. I doubt it. I mean, I'll admit, I think my best I've ever shot is a 78, and I'm usually, personally, I would say like maybe one max. Usually it's just one. Usually one mulligan around. I usually am around like the 85 to 88 range, which isn't amazing, but it's not horrible. So it just makes me think watching these guys shoot like 65. It's just like, man, I would love to be able to be just that good at golf. Because watching these guys, you get to see it like they'll be staring at a green, just looking at it. And then you get guys like Sam Burns, who just drills a 60. I mean, obviously they need just a slight little bit of luck to go their way too, but he made the read and he knew, like, all right, I need to pace it out this much, I need to do all that, and they just drill the putts. Like, just stuff like that, as a guy who enjoys golf, is just so fascinating. Just be like, man, These guys are so talented and so good that they're just able to look at it, do this, all right, I need to do this type of shot, and you're usually able to do the shot and just drill it right in there. But that leads us into the Masters Sundays where, like I said, on hole 18, Rory's just able to lock in. He knows he, at worst, can bogey it and still win. He gets par, ends up being your back-to-back Masters champion. He is only, I think, one of 6 guys to have a career Grand Slam, and now he's only one of 4. Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, and there's a guy from 1930s, 1940s. I'm forgetting. Really hated forgetting his name. Shout out to him though. Only ones to ever win the Masters back to back, and this is the first time the Masters has been won back to back since 2002 with Tiger, and it was honestly like a really special Sunday. Moving day on Saturday was kind of cool because you saw some of these guys like Scotty Scheffler. He started climbing the leaderboard a little bit. Cam Young just went on fire to shoot up the leaderboard. So you're watching some of these guys like, okay, this is going to be for a fun Sunday, isn't it? And then you watch Sunday, and everyone's just climbing. Some guys are dropping because of the pressure completely. Other guys are able to lock in just a little bit at the end to put themselves in a good spot for a good payout. And we'll end it here. Personally, for me, it was an awesome betting weekend-wise. I think I bet 300 in total, made 1.9K pretty much. Won 1.5 on a 5-legger that was like Justin Rose, Hideki Matsuyama, Henley, Cam Young, and Brooks Koepka. I had all them to finish top 20. Like I said, it was like plus 7,500 something. Ends up hitting, so it's just like, whoo. Well, and won't lie to you, I'm happy it hit because your boy has a new putter on the way. Whew. I can't wait, man. Blew that money right away as soon as I got it. Like, yep, we're cashing out about 300 of this for a new putter, so I cannot wait for that to come. On hopefully, I think Thursday. Which, speaking of Thursday, thank you all for watching. Thanks for the support. Really do appreciate it. I'll be back in this feed on Thursday. I got some stuff I need to do tomorrow, so we're going to move the show to Thursday. We're able to do that with it being the off-season, too. I don't have any bets to give out or anything, so we'll be back in this feed Thursday, go over a little bit more NFL news. We'll give one question I have for each NFC team before we head into the draft. And maybe we'll talk a little bit of NBA because after that, the play-in tournaments will be over, and I believe NBA playoffs will be starting Friday or Saturday. I know for sure there's games Sunday, but I believe there's also some games Friday or Saturday. So that'll be the plan for Thursday. Thank you all for watching. I'll see everyone in the feed then.